All right, now let's talk about who are some of the winners and losers from each day of the combine. It was a really busy and exciting combine. A whole bunch of players stood out. A whole bunch of players, definitely boosted their draft stock, but there were a few as well who definitely may have tanked their draft stock. And let's just get right into that. So the first player we're going to start with our day one winners. That is obviously the defensive lineman and linebackers. So first we have Kalijah Cansey out of Pittsburgh. His size and athletic profile is very similar to his fellow former Pitt, I guess, alum here, Aaron Donald. Cansey is 6 foot 280. He ran a 4.67 40. Aaron Donald was 6 foot, just a hair under 6'1", 285, and ran a 4.68. So kind of fun comparison there. Not saying that Cansey's going to be Aaron Donald, but he definitely had a very solid combine performance, and hopefully that boosts his stock going forward. For his sake, obviously. Moving on to the big winner, I think this guy was the number one consensus winner of day one. Nolan Smith, edge out of Georgia. He had an insane combine. I'm going to use some of these RAS scores here. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to have them kind of posted up here so you can follow along. But I'm going to kind of point out what these players did really, really well in terms of their athletic testing and not as much. And obviously, this doesn't take into account like the on-field drills, the position drills. So I'm going to talk about those as well for certain players. But Smith, he had an insane 40. He ran a 4.39 with a 1.52 10-yard split. He had a great vertical at 41 and a half, a great broad jump at 10, just over 10, I believe it was 10.8, and a great three cone as well as a 7.19. And he was just explosive all day, as well as in the position drills. A really big winner here at the combine. Nolan Smith, a little bit undersized, obviously at 6'2", 238, but his athletic testing more than made up for that. Moving on now to Bryan Bresee out of Clemson, defensive tackle. He had a really, really good testing as well. Ran a 4.86, 1.71, 10-yard split, and overall, he was very, very fluid in the drills. Quick feet, lots of power. It just seemed like he was, probably one of the most NFL ready players at the combine. And he definitely boosted his draft stock, along with his testing and overall his size. Yes, a little bit underweight, I'd say, for a defensive tackle, but he can hopefully bulk that up. Only did 22 on the bench press, which is not great, but, does that matter a lot? Probably not. Also might have to do with some of the weight concerns that we have here with Bresee. So anyway, good player, definitely improved his stock. Could possibly sneak into the first round. We'll have to wait and see. Moving on now to Byron Young, edge out of Tennessee. He was great in the drills. I think he probably was a guy who was more in the second round, conversation before this. Definitely is in the first round conversation now towards the end of the first round. And he is super quick. He ran a 4.43 40 with a 1.63 10-yard split, 38-inch vert, 11 broad jump, and his three cone was a little bit disappointing, I guess you can say, at a 7.19. Not, I believe that's the same as Nolan Smith, though, if I'm correct. Yeah, Nolan Smith also had a 7.19. So both these guys, similar types of athletes in terms of testing, both ran really quick, both had, I guess, somewhat of a disappointing three cone, and both had great verts and broad jump. And overall, he's another guy at the edge rusher position. This class is stacked in the edge rusher position, who could really be rising up draft boards. So I think that is pretty much it for our winners. Now, sadly, we have to go to a couple of losers here. One of them's kind of a fake loser because he didn't actually test, but Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia, obviously he had 2 arrest warrants issued during the combine, which forced him to return home. He didn't actually end up testing because of this. And this is only obviously going to add to some of the character issue concerns that he had. Not saying that I personally thought he had character issues before this. I'm not even sure if this is a character issue, right? Innocent until proven guilty. But, this is obviously going to be a red flag going forward for Jalen Carter. So it's going to be interesting. Kind of a consensus top 3 pick. Is he going to fall further than that? But definitely didn't help himself at the combine, and it wasn't because of his on-field performance. And then our other loser here is DJ Dale, defensive tackle out of Alabama. He measured way smaller than expected. He was kind of lethargic during workouts. He had a 1.89 RAS score. He ran a 5.26 40. He ran a 1.81 10-yard split. His 3-cone was probably the best thing he did all day at a 7.69. His vertical, his broad wasn't great. And overall, he just had a very bad day. Undersized as well, 6'1", 302. Just nothing went right for DJ Dale, it felt like, at the combine, defensive tackle out of Alabama. And that is pretty much it for day 1. Moving on to day 2, we're going to go to the winners first. This guy I'm a huge fan of, Deonte Banks, a cornerback out of Maryland. I did not think he was going to run this fast. He ended up running a 4.35 40, which is lightning quick. I thought he was going to run at best in the 4.4s, but he ran at 4.35, which is crazy. A 1.48 or 1.49, 10-yard split. Had a 42-inch vert, 11.4 broad. Just overall tested really well. Looked really, really fluid on the on-field drills. Moved his feet quickly. Good reactions. And I thought he was really impressive, and I think he solidified himself now as a first-round pick, but was more a back end of the first-round guy before this, in my opinion, but he really showed up to play at the combine. Moving on now to a safety out of Illinois, Sidney Brown. He had the second best broad jump among safeties with a 10-1 or 10-10 broad jump. Had a pretty good vert at 40.5. Ran a 4.47 40, had a 1.51 10-yard split, which is very elite, 98th percentile there. And overall, kind of a guy who maybe wasn't expected to test, athletically as well as he did. More of a 4.5, possibly even 4.6 guy, but ran really well and performed great in all the other drills. Finished with an RAS score of 9.63. Moving on to the consensus number 2 corner, who may have brought himself up even more now after the combine, Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. His athleticism was on full display. 4.38 40, 1.54 10-yard split. Great vert, 41.5, 11.1, 11-foot-1 broad jump. His height and weight, 6'1", 197, came in at a really good size there. And I think overall he tested excellently, looked good in the drills as well. And he, I think has solidified himself as a top 10 pick. We'll see. Witherspoon obviously did not test, but it's going to be interesting to see who goes first out of those two. Great arm length as well at 32 inches for his size. So overall, really, really good day for Christian Gonzalez. And then a guy that I've been a really big fan of ever since watching the Senior Bowl. We actually talked to Bobby Skinner about it from Talking Giants because he was at the Senior Bowl. He really liked this guy as well. Julius Brents, cornerback out of Kansas State. He came in with 34-inch arms, 6'4", 200 pounds. He performed great in the broad jump. And then he also ran a 4.5 340, which for his size is not terrible. That was the main concern, that he was going to run in like the 4.6s, ran a 4.53. And then broad jump, 11.6. Invert 41.5. Also had a really, really elite 3-cone at 6.83. So that change of direction, 6.63, that change of direction definitely coming into play as well. So I think he overall had a really good day, 9.82 RAS score for him. And I think he's a guy who could possibly sneak into the first round, but I think is going to be more of a, early second guy. But, elite traits here for Julius Brents. He basically has everything but elite speed. But, even on tape, I think he runs a lot quicker than a 4.53. All right, going to our losers. We only have one loser here on day 2. Everyone on day 2 actually had a pretty good day, in my opinion. But Trey Dean, the third safety out of Florida, he had concerns regarding his speed coming in. People thought he was going to run in the 4.6s probably, but he ran a 4.75, which is awful, 23rd percentile for safeties. And he really hurt himself with that. And those concerns about his straight line speed only got bigger now that he ran a 4.75, already looked quite slow on tape. And that's going to be probably an issue he's going to have to answer in interviews. And hopefully he can better that at his pro day, because that's definitely a big concern for him. Moving on to day 3 now. Our winners on day 3, this is wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends, a very successful day for a lot of these guys. So we have quite a few winners here. Starting with wide receiver, Zay Flowers out of Boston College. He was great in the gauntlet drill. He ran faster than I thought he would at a 4.42 40. He didn't really show much explosiveness in the vertical, which is kind of disappointing considering his lack of height. We were hoping that he'd have a good vert, only 35 and a half. But, elite speed, and did pretty well in the broad jump too, 10'7". And overall, I mean, he measured in at 5'9", 182. Wasn't great there, but nothing to not, it was kind of expected that he was going to measure in at that. But overall, I think he boosted his stock slightly because he looked really good on the on-field drills as well. So, successful day for Flowers. A guy we've also talked about a lot on this podcast, Andre Iosivas, Ioshivas out of Princeton, wide receiver. His 4.43 40-yard dash at 205 pounds confirmed his speed. He also had a 39-inch vert, almost 11-foot broad jump. Did a really good 3-cone at a 6.85. Came in at 6'3", 205. I think I mentioned that already. But overall, really, really a good performance for him. Got a 9.92 RAS score. And I think, he's going to be a guy who's just rising up boards because of the tools that are there. Maybe not the best tape, but a lot of tools, athletic tools that could be, taken advantage of by a really, really strong coach, strong coaching staff, possibly like the Giants. Moving to our first tight end here, Zach Kuntz, tight end out of Old Dominion. He had 40 inches in the vert, 10'8" broad jump. He ran a 4.55, 40. He looked really agile around the cones during drills. He, flashed late burst to get a ball downfield. He showed the ability to grab passes that were kind of thrown a little bit off target. But his agility, he was just smooth. He was a smooth operator throughout. And overall, he had a 10 out of 10 RAS score, 4.55, which is a 97th percentile, running score. Did a great 3-cone, 6.87, great vert, 40 inches. Overall, just a really, really good day for Kuntz. And I think he's a guy who definitely, I think, boosted his draft stock. Moving on to I think, winner of the combine here overall, not just day 3, but the general winner, if you had to pick one, and that's Anthony Richardson, QB out of Florida. He ran a 4.43 40, weighing 244 pounds, and also being 6'4". That's the fastest time, or that's the 4th fastest time by a QB since 2003. He jumped like a receiver, a 100th percentile score in the broad jump and vertical, 40 and a half on the vert, 10'9" broad. And overall, he was just an insane performer. Looked great during the drills as well, especially during that deep ball section. And he got a 10 out of 10 RAS score. And I think he's probably now a top 10 pick, and probably number 3 in terms of the quarterback rankings. Currently, obviously, him and Levis, I think, are similar. Levis, I believe, is a little bit more polished, but Richardson definitely looked really, really good on Saturday. So definitely a big, big winner. And then CJ Stroud, he didn't actually do any testing, but during the throwing portion, during the deep ball portion, he just looked so accurate, so smooth, so comfortable, so composed. And I think he's solidified himself as one of the top 2. Personally, I think there's a lot closer of I don't think the gap's as big between Young and Stroud as some people have it. I think CJ Stroud's an excellent quarterback, and I'm not buying any of the Ohio State can't, get good quarterbacks type thing. And I think CJ Stroud, he's an excellent player. Kind of disappointing he didn't test athletically, but certainly looked good in the throwing portion. Moving on to wide receiver Rashee Rice out of SMU. It was really concerning with his speed pre-combine. On tape, he looks a little slow at times, but he kind of put that to bed with a 4.5 140. Pretty good considering his size, 6'1", 204. Had a great vert at 41, good broad at 10.8. and actually had a really, really elite 10-yard split at 149, 98th percentile there. So while he didn't have the, quickest 40, he had a really, really good 10-yard split, which, can show his burst off the line of scrimmage, his release. So I think overall he had an excellent day and came in at a 9.65 RAS score. So good for him. And I think he's a guy who probably will end up in the second round, but who knows? Maybe a team takes a flyer on him in the first. Moving on to another quarterback now, Stetson Bennett. QB out of Georgia. Everyone's talking about his age. He's 25 years old. He's the same age as Daniel Jones, funny enough. But he ran an impressive 40. He ran a 4.67. He also was really good in the position drills. I thought him throwing was quite impressive. He looked really good, up there almost with Stroud and even Richardson. I think he looked better than Richardson personally, especially on some of the more, like the out routes and the shorter throws in terms of accuracy. And he just looked really comfortable. And I think he could have risen to, a round or two here with his combine performance. And there's going to be a team out there that wants a serviceable backup for years to come. And I think Stetson Bennett is that guy. He can come in. He's already playing at an NFL level. And I think he, obviously his floor is pretty high. His ceiling's not that high, but, despite his age, I think overall he looked really, really good. And, age isn't tested at the combine. So I think he's definitely a big winner. All right, moving on to another tight end here, Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia. He's actually the second best tight end on his team, which is crazy. He had an insane one-handed catch, but he put up great numbers. He's 6'6", almost 6'7", 264. He ran a 4.6, 4.40, 181, 10-yard split. Had a great shuttle at a 4.08. Good broad jump at 9.13. Disappointing vertical, though, at a 31. Very disappointing for a guy his size and with his other athletic traits, as we've seen. I thought that was very, very odd when I saw that score come in. And, huge hands as well, 11 inches. And I think this guy's going to be a very big weapon. Definitely more of a project, but definitely has all the traits to be a very good tight end in the NFL level. And I'm excited to see what he does going forward and where he kind of ends up in the draft. I feel like he could go anywhere from the first round to like the fourth round. I have no idea. This tight end class is definitely going to be one of the more interesting things to watch, at the draft. All right, moving on to our losers from day 3. Just have a couple here. I wouldn't say this guy's a huge loser, but I guess, perception wise, for a lot of people, he was a little bit disappointing. He ran a 4.49 You probably know who I'm talking about. It's Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC. But he did not also measure great. He came at 5'11", 171, a little bit shorter than people expected, actually, but only ran a 4.49 despite that size. And that was quite disappointing. A very bad vert, 234, not great for him, only 48th percentile. It was just not a great day. Did look good in the drills, in the position drills, the gauntlet especially, but it just felt like his testing kind of overshadowed everything else. And then to a QB now, Max Duggan out of TCU. Accuracy was just like kind of an issue in drills. He felt like the only quarterback who wasn't really hitting his target, consistently. This quarterback group was really, really good. And I felt like he just kind of stood out as the guy who was just not there with some of the more elite guys. He did run an impressive 4.52 40, which was, really, really good. Ran a 1.55 10-yard split, had a decent broad jump as well, but just really, really disappointing for a guy who, we expected to be more accurate in the drills. Moving on to day 4 winners now. We've got Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. He ran a 4.36 40, which, was what we expected him to do, I guess you can say. But when you meet expectations in the combine, I think that's always a good thing. And he really solidified himself as the RB2 here in this class, as an elite receiving back. We saw that in the drills. He was excellent there. Yes, a little undersized, but I think for a team that, wants kind of a gadget player, I think Gibbs could be very, very exciting, especially on a team like the Chiefs or something like that. He could be very, very successful. Moving to our first O-lineman of the night, Broderick Jones, tackle out of Georgia. He's 6'5", 311, yet he ran a 4.97 40, and he actually measured a lot better than people expected. He came in at almost 6'5" and a half, but people thought he was going to be 6'4" because that's what he was listed as on the Georgia website, and he came in bigger than that. So good, I guess, good news there. Maybe he had a growth spurt. Who knows? But I guess a good trait to have to be a little bit taller here as a tackle, and just elite running speed here. 174 10-yard split as well. And we didn't get bench press numbers on him, I don't believe, but overall, good day for him. 9.44 RAS score. And then our final winner of day 4, Blake Freeland, tackle out of BYU. He was great. He's 6'8", 302. He ran a 4.98 40, 1.68 10-yard split. Had a great vertical, 37 vert, 10-foot broad jump. Was great in the 3-cone, 7.46. It was overall a really good performance. He looked great in the position drills. He had really quick feet. I thought he was really impressive. Someone who I never really was watching, never really have seen much of him before the combine, but was certainly impressed. And we'll have to take a closer look at him going forward. And then our final loser on day 4, just one here. It was Kenny McIntosh out of Georgia, running back. He ran a dismal 4.6 240, despite being pretty undersized. He lacked explosiveness in the position drills. He didn't really participate in other athletics testing besides the 40. Just not a good day for McIntosh out of Georgia.